All right. So I'm just gonna start. Well, praise the Lord. First of all, I hope you guys have had a wonderful week. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It took a lot out of me put to get this together for this video because this part of my testimony, which is my adulthood, um, it's not the brightest. Okay, it's just letting you know. Um, I'm gonna try my best to word things in a G, like a PG rated language. I'm not saying I'm gonna say any bad words, nothing like that. It's just more like, um, it's a little more harsh, on the harsher side. This part of my testimony. So if you have kids, I think it's just best if you don't have them around. So And sorry for saying so much in my last video. It's kind of hard for me to talk about my personal, my testimony, my personal life on here in public, but you know what? I'm just being obedient to what God has told me to do. So I'm going to do it. And to be honest, I I'm probably going to post it today, Thursday. I'm not too sure though. Hopefully I do. Hopefully there's no more delays. But, it was a little battle to make this video because Tuesday, I was supposed to record this on Tuesday. And all of a sudden, I just started feeling super super scared and super nervous. Like my stomach started to turn and I just felt like barfing. And I felt really sick and I started losing my appetite, but I I know that was just the devil to try to keep my mouth shut because like I've said before, there's power in the testimony, and I just feel like he didn't want me to get this out. But we rebuke the devil in Jesus' name, and I'm going to get this story out. This one might be long, so I might do a two-part, but I don't know, it just depends. It really just depends how long it is, but bear with me. So, okay. So, I had last ended about my childhood, right, of high school. So, I'm trying to remember. So I forgot to mention that my family and we used to live in Long Beach. That's where I was born and a little bit raised there for a few years, almost a decade of my life. And yeah, the reason why we had to leave too is that in, I'm not going to get too into that, but pretty much one of my family side of the one of my parents' side of the family was doing ghetto things. I remember being kicked out of our house by the cops a lot because, I had some irresponsible family members that would do certain things, and that really traumatized me with the cops as a child because we would just be sometimes. Remember there was one time where me and my sisters were sleeping, and then all I remember was hearing a big old ruckus, and it was like we had like a huge driveway, and cops were just filled there and trying to grab one of my family members because he did something bad. I guess I'm not too sure. I was small though. And then another time um, we were watching TV at home, and then all of a sudden cops came up to the door, and we had to get out of the house and just wait on the sidewalk. So yeah, it wasn't pretty. So thankfully to my dad, we got out of there. So yeah, so that's that, and just keep that part of the story like what I said about being traumatized by cops because there's certain things that will I'll bring it up later. But yeah, so that's that. And yeah, during high school, since I'm already transitioning out of that part of the testimony, yeah, so like I said, in high school, I was a good kid and I never gave my dad problems. I was always the child that I was very good. You know, if anything, there was other things with my other siblings, but I just learned to be very dependent during that time. I had to help out my dad. I remember, my poor dad, he had to work, and then like I had to help out with my brother, my little brother, my little sister. And I remember coming home from school also because I had to like get the chicken ready, get it out of the freezer or something, and just get things ready for food, like dinner. And yeah, it was rough. And then, but it was okay. It's okay because it's made me very strong. It's made me very independent. But I will say that when so back to just to point one more thing out too. I don't know if you guys remember, but when my mom had passed away, I had said that my dad yelled at me, right? He had never yelled at me like that before when he told me to call the ambulance. And I reflect back on it, and I that was a day where, because I was always very goofy with my dad. That was a day where, and this has nothing to, I don't blame my dad. I think it's just childhood trauma, like a trauma. Since since my dad's never spoken to me like that before, it really, I think, caused me to have like some type of parental wound, because after that I always felt like I had to be perfect for my dad. Like I always had to just be this perfect daughter. And yeah, so that that really, and that will also go into play for my adulthood. So yeah, I always felt like I had to be perfect and like I couldn't do anything wrong, and I had to do everything, like everything I did was perfect. But that led to me, to my adulthood, to begin to lie to my dad. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, if my dad ever watches this video, I probably eventually will tell him. But if he ever, he doesn't even, I don't even know if, I don't even think he knows I have a podcast. But hey, dad, if you watch this, I'm sorry, but this is testimony that God is telling me to say, and I'm not proud of it. But I just, I pray right now that any spirit of shame, guilt, nervousness, fear, I rebuke it in Jesus' name. And this is all for the honor and glory to God. Because, yeah, guys, like you guys should have, if you guys would have seen me, like I literally felt like sick to my stomach, like I was gonna barf, because I didn't, like, something in me just didn't want to say this. But like I said, I'm gonna say it, and I pray that this helps anyone. Just letting you know, disclaimer. So this part of the testimony I will talk about domestic violence, sex, assault, grief, loss, yeah, all that stuff. So that's why I had mentioned about not having kids around. But anyways, so I think it'd be better if people that are 18 and over should listen to this. But yeah, just saying that. So after high school, I started working at my first job. My first job was part-time. I was going to part-time work and then full-time school. And yeah, everything was fine. Like I said, I was still a good kid. I got everything done. I was working, going to school. But then at my first job, and also, I'm a virgin at this point. I'm 18 years old now. I'm a virgin. Yeah, I was very naive to a lot of things. Like I always had, even at 18, like I just always had a kid mentality. I was still very innocent with a lot of things. But yeah, so at my job, there's this one guy. I'm not going to say his name, but this one guy, he started, we would work and we would work together. And this guy started to just be friendly with me. And then eventually that friendliness started going to like a little flirt. But I was always kind of like standoffish about it. Until one day he asked me, he said, "Do you want to go on a date with me?" And I was kind of like taken aback because I just, again, like my focus was not on guys, it was on school and working. And so then I said yes to the date. And just to be blunt about it, this guy, when we went to the date, this guy was very, very, very handsy, and automatically just he stepped my boundaries. But at that time, I was always a people pleaser, always a people pleaser. I didn't know how to say no to anything or to anyone. So yeah, this person like really over, like now I look back at it and I'm like, damn, I should have said no to him. But yeah, he overstepped his boundaries with me. And and but no, I eventually, and this, we talked for like, oh, I think it was like 3 months, 3 months. And one day, which was, it was near New Year's Eve. One day, things led to one things led from one thing to another, and I fell into fornication. I had relations with him only once, and one day, yeah. So I'm sorry, not one day. After that happened, this person literally ghosted me, and I was kind of like, I had lost my virginity to him, and I was just kind of like confused because I had never been with a guy like that, or just a guy in general. I'd never been with a guy, so it kind of took me aback. And I at the time there, I don't think the word ghost ghost existed. So in my head, I was kind of like, oh, okay. I was just kind of like, okay. So I went about my day, and then plus it was New Year's Eve, so I ended up going out with some friends from church with their family because my family had gone to Mexico at the time. So I hung out with them, and then I just went about my day. And then I would try to message the guy, and I messaged him saying Happy New Year's, and then he just never texted me back. And I just thought it was weird because I'm like, dude, I work with him. Like, why is he acting like that, you know? And so, yeah, so then it was weird. It was weird. Like, he just never messaged me back. And then all of a sudden, he changed his schedule, like his work schedule, to the morning. And I worked nights because I had school in the morning. So he switched it to the mornings. And then I was like, what the heck? Like, so I never saw him. I just never saw him. And I just ended up going about, my everyday thing, which was school and work. It's weird though because it's like it didn't hurt me. It just left me kind of like confused, like what? And yeah, so then sorry for the if you guys hear the dog barking in the back, but my bad. Yeah, so I yeah, so I went about my day or my days or whatever, and then so now we're in January, and in January, I was actually going to leave because one of my old church friends, she told me about this one job and that was hiring. And so I moved to that. I got accepted to the job. But right before I got accepted to the job, but right before I left the job, which is going to be a month later, which is going to be in February, I had got invited to like a kickback with my first job, like my coworkers from my first job. And you see how things always come to light because I saw the guy there, but he was just he's pretty much like a player, you know. Now, I mean, obviously now I know, but yeah. So that guy was just there at the kickback, but he was just very like kind of distant and just didn't want to talk. And then I was just left very confused, and I was like, okay, whatever. So then later on that night, we're leaving, and I'm the one that drove I drove me and my coworker. But then another coworker, which was friends with the guy, asked if I can give him a ride back to his house. So I said, yeah, sure. This guy, mind you, he was drunk. At the time, I don't think I drank. I wasn't, I didn't drink. I didn't drink. But yeah, this guy was super drunk in my back seat. And then my coworker was next to me. And then this guy, being so drunk, he ends up telling me, he says, hey, I got to tell you something. And I said, what? And he said, so and so, like that I'm, the guy that I was talking to, so and so, me and so and so made a bet, and pretty much a bet that he can get into, he gets sleep with you. And again, like I wasn't heartbroken. I was just kind of like, mm, I was just quiet. Like I don't know. I don't remember crying about it. I don't remember being like, but I just remember thinking like, damn, like it started creeping into my head. Like, is this how it is? Like, am I not worth? You know what I mean? Because it's like I lost my virginity to someone that made a bet on me. And actually, it reminds me, I have this shirt that I'm wearing right now. Here, let me show you guys. This shirt, not this is not even okay. This part of the testimony is not even the part where it's not the worst part, but I've had this shirt since 2016. It was either 2016 or 17. I think 16. And this shirt, okay, so the shirt, it says worth more than rubies. Proverbs 31:10. And I barely started wearing this shirt when I came back to church because for the longest time I felt like I couldn't wear this shirt. I felt like I wasn't worthy enough, and I felt like when I wore it, if I ever wore this shirt, it was just me lying. And I didn't like I just felt gross with myself. And so, yeah, so now I'm wearing this shirt and I wear it proudly because I am a child, a daughter of God, and God has really redeemed me and has transformed my heart. And I know that those were just lies of the devil to just keep me down. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, I end up I just end up acting kind of like, okay, whatever, you know, kind of like shrug it off. Especially because I grew up with tough love. You know, I didn't grow up, I wouldn't say it's, you know, it wasn't the easiest upbringing, especially after everything that happened with my mom. So things didn't really phase me that much. But I know now deep down, like, That's why I couldn't wear this shirt, because I started thinking like that of myself. The devil really, really tries to like make you feel worthless. So, yeah, that was that was my that was that. Which, ladies, please, honestly, the biggest thing I can say is wait till marriage, please. Wait till marriage. Do not just, if you are if you're still a virgin, please, 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 I cannot stress it enough. Just wait until God brings you your husband. I wish that I would have done that. Like, I really wish that I would have waited for my husband, because it just, you create soul ties, you're sinning. Honestly, it's just, it's not good. You'll save yourself a heartbreak. You'll save yourself mental turmoil. But yeah, so that was that with that guy. Once I left the job, I never spoke to him again. I never talked to him again. And that was that. So yeah, so now I go to this next job, and this next job, every single job, you know what? I forgot to say, every single job I've worked at, it's always been I've always been treated very poorly by coworkers and by my bosses, especially my bosses. Like my first job, this lady, I think, especially knowing, because, I'm straight out of high school. I got there 18. Like, I'm telling you, like, I looked very innocent. Like, especially the way I talked. I never cussed. I honestly did not cuss. I didn't start cussing till later on in my life. I, like I said, I was very like childlike, innocent type of thing. And, the enemy, like other people's spirits, evil, unclean spirits, they recognize that. So they attack you. And I've always dealt with a lot of, just a lot of warfare at my jobs. And at this time, I still was going to church. Even though I committed this act with this guy, I was still going to church, but I was not as, I wasn't going as frequent because of work and school. So, yeah, that's that. Now, going to my next job, I honestly, I don't really have anything to say about this job, except for, yeah, there's this one lady, man, she was mean to me. Like, I'm telling you, every job. I was always like, God, why is everyone so mean to me? Always, always. I never understood why. Now I understand why, but at the time I was like, why? But yeah, so a few months later, and I'm at school, I meet my first boyfriend. And my first boyfriend, just, okay, so every relationship I've been in every single kind of attachment style relationship. This one, my first boyfriend, I would say it was a secured attachment style. Me and my first boyfriend, I can't hate him. Like, I really can't. He was a sweetheart. He was a sweetheart. And yeah, it was like puppy love with him. And until one day, me and him, so obviously I had already fornicated with this first guy, so I did the same thing with my first boyfriend. And I remember there was a time we were probably about, I don't really remember, but I think we were about like maybe 6 months into the relationship, where I start getting really, really emotional out of nowhere. And just very, yeah, just like I said, very emotional. And, and we were out with my friends. So it was me, my boyfriend, and two of my friends. We were at the mall, and all of a sudden, I started getting really bad, sharp pain, like a burning sensation around my bladder area. And I was like, "What the heck?" And my friend, she gave me Tylenol, and it just wasn't working. Like I literally felt like someone was holding a torch down on my bladder area. And so we ended up leaving the mall. Oh, we had gone to the mall. We ended up leaving the mall, and I got home, and then my boyfriend at the time was like, "Okay, let me know how you feel." So I get home, and then the pain gets worse. And at the time, my stepmom was awake. Um, my stepmom was awake. By the time my dad had gotten remarried, so my stepmom, she was awake, and I just remember being in bed wanting to cry because, or actually I think I was crying because it was so painful. So I had never felt a pain like that before. And my stepmom, she was trying to help me, and she got like wet rags, like she heated it up, put it down there, and like it just wasn't helping. So then my dad ended up taking me to the ER, and I was like, what the heck? Like, what is going on with me? And we were at the ER, pobrecito, my dad. We were at the ER for like 4 hours, and I was shooting pain, dude, but the line was so long. By the fourth hour, I told my dad, like, it's okay, like, the pain went away. My dad's like, are you sure? Pobrecito. He even missed work to take me. And so he was like, okay. So we ended up leaving, and that was that. The next day, I was having a lot of pain again. Like, so we left the ER. I think we left the ER like at 4 in the morning. We came back home, and then I woke up, and then like around 3 p.m., the pain again started shooting up, like I was on fire down there again, like on the bladder area. And then I ended up taking myself to the my primary doctor, like the clinic, and they're like, "Are you pregnant?" And I said no. And they're like, "Okay, well, just to make sure, we're gonna do a urinal test, just check my vitals and all that stuff." And the lady tells me, she's like, "You're pregnant." And I just remember being like, my first thing was just like, oh my gosh. Like, I was so scared. I was 18? No, 19 at the time. And this was, I believe this was uh, January 2015. And I just remember thinking like, oh my gosh. My first reaction was like to call my boyfriend, and my boyfriend, and I told him, I was like, hey, I'm gonna get checked out. But oh, mind you, I also freaked out because I was bleeding a lot, like a lot. I ended up having an accident in the hospital restroom because I just, yeah, not to be too explicit, but yeah, it was really bad down there. And so then right away, when the lady tells me, she's like, we got to get you checked out. And so then I go with the OBGYN, get checked out, and the lady said, you're actually having a miscarriage right now. And she said, because we had to do a heartbeat, like an ultrasound. There was no heartbeat. I had to make sure though. I told her to make sure because I my thought wasn't to abort it or kill it if he was alive, or to get rid of it. I didn't want to. That's one thing that I always stood on, is that no, like, I don't care. I'm not going to abort. And yeah, no, I made her make sure. Like, I had her make sure. And I said, there's no heartbeat for sure, right? She's like, no, there's no heartbeat. And yeah, there is no heartbeat. So then I had a miscarriage. I had to go through that whole procedure, the DNC procedure and all that stuff to clean me out. It was very painful though. It was a very painful time. Physically, emotionally too. Because that would have been my first child. And that's crazy because now this August that just passed 2 months ago, he would have been 10 years old. He or she, whatever it was, but would have been 10 years old. But you know what? I know that God knows. God, I feel like that was just a scare from God, though. Kind of like, hey, don't be falling in fornication. I mean, not like that, not like that, but I mean, to kind of wake me up because, yeah, imagine, but God did not allow that to happen. And yeah, so me and my first boyfriend, we got close. We got really close after that. And I can't tell you that I was sad, but at that time I was very numb with my emotions. Very numb with my emotions. Like I said, I don't really remember crying about it up until now. Now that I've been, saved and I'm with God now, God has done so much healing where like he's brought up so many memories to my mind where I'm definitely healing from it, and he's cleaning my heart. And yeah, so me and my ex, we do get closer, but this next part, that's nothing. Now we're gonna go to the beginning of my big part of the testimony, pretty much my main part of the testimony. So I was with my boyfriend at the time still. I ended up going from that job that I had to the next job. And this next job is where I met my... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I had already gone to my third job, my third different job when I was with my first boyfriend. But I pretty much moved department to work full time, and that's when I started working full time night shift, so graveyard hours. And again, I'm very a people pleaser, very vulnerable. And when I moved to this night shift, this part is really hard to talk about, guys, because it's something that I've never said it out loud like this. So, and it's something where this was the part where the enemy was really trying to attack me yesterday to not say it, or 2 days ago actually, to not say it, because I'm not proud of this part of my testimony. But I rebuke any spirit that's trying to stop me from saying it, because okay. So this is April 2015, and so yeah, I was working day shift. I moved to night shift, and I moved to night shift because this was finally my first full-time job. So I needed to start making money, making more money. And at this time, I had stopped going to school. I had taken a break from school. And that's where I met my who would turn to be husband. But when I met him, I I went into work just to work. But this guy, we're going to call him, because I don't want to keep saying my husband. We're going to call him, well, I'll just say my husband. That's fine. So my first day on the job, or my first night at the job, I remember we had to introduce ourselves to everyone because it was a huge group. The group was like, I think, maybe 300 people. Yeah, it was huge because I worked at a big job. I'm not going to say where, but I worked at a big company. And I remember that night when it was time to go to lunch, my husband at the time came up to me, very friendly, very like trying to be helpful. And he was like, "Hi, my name is so and so. If you ever need help, let me know. I'm always here to help." And that way you have a friendly, familiar face to count on. And I just said, "Oh, okay, thanks." Like, I didn't think much of it, right? And so, yeah, that was that. But one thing about my husband is that he was very persistent, very annoying too, very annoying. And it started getting to the point, and mind you, I was still with my first boyfriend at this time. He was annoying because I started getting to the point where like he would go to wherever I was at. I wouldn't even tell him, but he would always find me throughout the night at work and would always, I guess, finish whatever he was doing with his job and then come and look for me. And it started getting to the point where I was like, dude, like, what the heck? Like, and I didn't know. I'm telling you, I promise, guys, I promise. I did not know. I really didn't know about HR, nothing like that. Because if I would have known about HR, that first job where that one boss of mine would, like, she literally would assault me, I would have gone to HR and dropped a complaint on her. But I didn't know about it. That's how naive I was, like, dumb. So, yeah, if now looking back at it, I'm like, dude, if I would have known about HR or been well informed about them, or I would have definitely filed a harassment from him because this guy was like, I felt like, I was like, dude, this guy's like stalker and obsessed with me. And yeah, so then one day he started calling me baby, like, and I would tell him, I'm like, dude, I'm not your baby. Don't be talking to me like I'm your girlfriend, because I'm not your girlfriend. I have a boyfriend, so please respect me. And he was like, why? But now I know. I mean, now seeing it with spiritual eyes, my husband had Jezebel written all over him. And so, yeah. So he was super, just always on me, dude. Like, that's how our relationship was. It was always just on me, looking for me, and just very encimoso, you know? So one day he ends up telling me, "Oh, let's go out to eat breakfast together." And I was like, "No." And my husband was not the kind to really take no for an answer. He was very, like I said, very persistent. And he was like, "Come on, I'm not going to do anything. Like, let's just go." I should just walked away, but me being just very gullible, I was like, "Okay." So we went to go eat. We went to go eat, and I'm telling you, this guy. One thing about my ex-husband is he was very, very, very charming. Very. He wasn't the best. Now I look back at it, dude. Like, he was not the best looking guy. He was not my type at all. At all. Not my type. But he was very good with his words. Very, very good. He had a way, he had a very and seductive way to charm you and to reel you in. And so that's what happened. He reeled me in. We fornicated. And in this case, committed adultery, because then when we did the act, about, I don't remember how long after it was. I think maybe like a month later or 2 weeks later. I'm not too sure. It's been a long time. I get a call. And this call is his wife. And I answer the call and I was like, who's this? And then she tells me, she's like, oh, this is so-and-so's wife. And I'm like, because I know that's wrong, right? I knew that what I did was wrong. And I was like, what the heck? So then I end up talking to her and I'm like, oh, okay, like I won't talk to him again. I end up getting so mad at him because then I'm like, dude, like, what the heck? Like, why didn't you tell me? But then, again, this guy. So the thing is that with them, the married couple, and I'm not saying this is right because it's completely wrong. When someone is married, that's you respect that, right? But also during this time, I was not going to church anymore. I had stopped. I was starting to do whatever I wanted. But this guy, he convinced me and he said, oh, he's like, she's just crazy. She's just jealous. Like, we're getting divorced and blah, 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 and this and that. And we're not even living together. And I know at the time they were not living together, but still, I do not condone it. That is a sin. It is a horrible sin. So please, please, for all the girls out there, or even guys, if whoever's watching this, your God ordained spouse is not married. No, please get that out of your head. The person that's married, that's that person's husband or that's that person's wife. God is not going to send you a married man or a married woman. No. If anything, rebuke that and walk away. But no. What happened? Remember how I said that my ex was or my husband was very obsessive and stalkerish? That's how he was. That's how he was. He would not leave me alone. That guy was always reeling me in, manipulating me, and pretty much it went about like that for, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 years. That's how, telling you, dude, like, that's how stupid I was. Like, so stupid. And you don't even know. That's the reason why I couldn't wear this shirt that I'm wearing right now, because I literally felt disgusted with myself. And I would always tell myself, like, Jeanette, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? But I'm telling you, this guy was very good with his words and would just always make it seem like, oh, no, like, we're not doing anything bad. Like, we're not doing anything bad. Because I'm getting a divorce. Dude, like, now that I'm older, I'm like, unless you got a bunch of real estate or property and things worth fighting for, a divorce does not take that long. I know because I was going through a process of it. So I know now. But yeah, so that happened, and man, I'm telling you, it's hard to say this testimony because like literally right now I'm just praying in my head because it's like that sick to my stomach feeling just wants to keep coming up, but I rebuke it in Jesus' name. So since he was married, right? There was a time during that whole relationship or that whole affair that we had, it was always a push pull because I knew I was doing wrong. I knew it was wrong. Even if they weren't living together, they're still married. And I knew I was doing wrong. And so while this person would be over there, like, it's complicated to explain, but when he would be with his kids, he would always be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, like don't worry, like I'm over here, but I go back home and BS, BS." Guys, literally, sorry for the word, but it literally pisses me off. It gets me so mad at myself. But yeah, so there's one night, and I'm still friends. Oh, I've left out the big part. I'm the one that ruined my relationship with my first boyfriend because, well, I did what I did with my ex and I cheated on him. And even though that happened, my first boyfriend still wanted to be friends with me, and it makes me want to cry thinking about it because he didn't deserve that, and yeah, so yeah, my first boyfriend still wanted to be my friend either way. Okay, finally. Sheesh. Sorry guys, my camera just completely flipped. But anyways, as I was saying, I know sunlight's starting to come off. I'm doing this in the morning, so yeah, I'm trying to be quick with this testimony. But anyways, yeah, so that happened with my first boyfriend, but my first boyfriend still wanted to be my friend. So one day or one night, it was me, my first boyfriend. Well, yeah, my first boyfriend, my ex at the time. Well, he is my ex, but my first boyfriend, and then my best friend at the time. We all went out to go dancing, right? To a bar. And so we get over there, and long story short, pretty much, remember how I said that my husband was very stalkerish and obsessive? Well, I have no idea how we didn't even take a car, we took an Uber. I have no idea how he found me. I don't, up until this day, I don't even know where the bar is at. I don't remember where it was at, but this guy found me, and I was inside of the bar with them. I went to the restroom, and this guy calls me, and he tells me, he ends up saying, he's like, "I know where you're at." He's like, "I'm outside," and I was like, "What the heck?" But at this time, dude, right now I'm just para hacérselo corto, like to make it short for you guys, but dude, I was scared of him because that's how manipulative he was, is that he had a lot of control over me. And now I know, like, it's okay. So the thing with my husband is that he when he was very lovey-dovey, very lovey-dovey. He reminded me a lot of my mom, like his affectionate side. He was super lovey-dovey, super like catering to me. Like, oh, when he was with me, oh, I was a queen to him. Like, he was very gentleman, everything, like everything. But I know that the devil, uses people to get you away from your calling and from your purpose in God. And that's what he did. He sent my husband, my ex-husband. My ex-husband, like I said, he's not my type. Up until this day, I don't think he's cute. I don't think he was good looking, but he catered to pretty much my needs. Like, I had a lot of emotional wounds, from childhood. So literally, the devil brought someone that was like for me to fill that void, to fill quotations, right? That void that I had in my heart. And yeah, so he was like that, but he was very obsessive and stalkerish. So he found me, and long story short, I ended up finding out that night that, um, well, I ended up going out because he scared me. Because he's like, if you don't come out, you don't even know what I'm gonna do, blah 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 blah. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I didn't want him to hurt my first boyfriend, like my first boyfriend at the time. I didn't want him to do anything stupid. So like, yo como tontita, I go outside and I go with him. He ends up driving like both of us. We drive off, and then this is the worst part. This is the worst part, dude. Like honestly, I'm just gonna say it because it's all for the honor and glory of God. But this is the day that I find out that um he tells me that he got his wife pregnant. And so this is the thing. When I had gone out, I had already ended things with this guy, right? And I had ended it, and that was it. Because again, like I had said earlier, me and my during this whole time being together, I was always the one trying to like break up with him, but he would always find his way back in, always lure me in, and it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so that's why I had gone out, because I had ended things with this guy. And that night, when he told me that he got his wife pregnant with their second child, I got, I felt even more disgusted with myself, because I was just like, dude, like, you keep telling me. My goodness. Oh my God. Okay. So where I had to pause and just stop where I was at, because like, out of all days, the tripod did not want to hold the phone. Like when I was saying the testimony, like from the when you guys saw me with my hair down, that was this morning. And the tripod started giving me problems. My phone didn't want to record, and I just started rebuking the devil. I started rebuking the devil, and I was like, dude, like, stop. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put everything away, and I'm just gonna do it right now. Mind you, another thing too, I was really okay. So the thing about it's hard to say what, because I don't want to spoil it either. But I guess I'm just gonna call him my husband, right? That way you guys know who it is. At this time, obviously, he wasn't my husband. He was married to someone else. But yeah, this guy was like a leech, and I know that it was definitely like a Jezebel spirit on him, because I looked it up now. Now that I'm like in my walk with Christ, and I've been getting familiar with a bunch of like different kinds of spirits, he was definitely a Jezebel spirit. That guy had a control over me. I don't know what it was though, because I've always been a strong minded, a very level headed person. But for some reason with him, it was just, it's like I would go titiri, like my brain would just kind of like, just kind of like shut down, and whatever he said, I would do. And I don't know, it was weird. But you know what? I believe manipulation is a form of witchcraft in the spiritual realm. So I definitely was, I guess you would say, under manipulation, witchcraft. At the end of the day, that's I'm gonna call it what it is. And I was not in my walk with God anymore. I was very weak in my spirit, right? And another thing too was that with my husband, he was very Okay, so not only was he affectionate, but he was also very like manly. So, but a little too much, like very machismo, which obviously is not good as well. I understand that there's an order to, that the man is the above the his wife or the head of his household, but this guy was definitely driven by ego and by ego, machismo, that kind of stuff. But yeah, so when he had told me that news about, getting his wife pregnant again, I got so mad. And that day, this is how manipulative he was. So that day or that night when he told me, he locked the car doors and we drove off. And sadly, I feel bad. I left my friends back there, and it was like it's just things where I'm like, dude, Jeanette, like, why'd you even go outside? You should just, I don't know. But you know what, God made something good out of this evil, so I'll get to it. But yeah, so I we drove off, and again he was he started being very affectionate with me and very just like, oh, I'm sorry, like it's nothing, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm telling you, this guy had some type of power over me. I couldn't explain it. It was uh, like a trance kind of, and, trance, like trance. That's how it felt like with him. And so that was the first night when he 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 slapped me. He slapped me, and he turned it around on me, saying like that I'm the one that made him do that. And again, at this time in my life, now that I look back at it, how I think I said it before, I was very just, when it came to my emotions, I was very just like a very straight face. And I just, it's like I remember a lot of things, but it was a blur at the same time. And I remember that was the first time that happened. And he told me, I didn't hit you because like I'm mad at you. He's like, it's because I love you. That's why I hit you. And yeah, so that was that. That was the only time he hit me at that time. That was back in 2017 or 18. No, I think it was 2017. 17. Yeah, I think 17. And um, so we pretty much go off like we stopped talking during that time, because even I was like, dude, like no, like even after that happened, I still was like, no, 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 no. And so we stopped talking for that whole bit, because I don't want to be with him. Well, I just didn't want to be associated with him, especially since I found out the news. And lo and behold, that I'm telling you guys, like he had a very, very heavy, lustful, and like Jezebel spirit, because even after that, he would still contact me. He was like literally like I should have called the cops type of thing. I literally should have called the cops and put like a restraining order, because that's how bad it was. But me with my pride, I never told anyone. I never told my dad about it. I didn't tell anyone about it, because I was always the kind where like, no, I don't give my dad trouble, or I don't give my family trouble. So I'm just gonna keep quiet and not say anything and just deal with it on my own. And yeah, so that's how it went about. And then honestly, after that, I guess, um, oh yeah, so the baby was born, and he told me, he was like, no, I'm serious. No, I'm serious. I'm gonna get divorced. And I told him, I was like, dude, leave me alone, because like I'm not saying I could have gone out with other guys, but dude, there was other guys that were like, that were, asking me out, and they were single guys, young guys, way younger guys. And mind you, okay, so when I met my husband, I was 19, he was 25. So, yeah, that's a pretty big age difference, especially because I literally, like, besides him, I had my first boyfriend, but it was very innocent. Like, it wasn't innocent, but it was like my first boyfriend, like, we had, I would say it was like puppy love. It was nothing like the way it was with this, like, with my husband. With my husband, it was very, very unhealthy, very unhealthy, committing adultery, which is part of the 10 commandments that God tells us not to do, and I did it. So right off the bat, the foundation of our relationship was not blessed by God at all. I'll make that clear. If you have to compromise, you daughters of God, if you have to compromise your your life, like your purity life, your walk with God, for anything that is gonna make you break the 10 commandments, or is gonna make you sin, or just gonna make you walk away from God, it's not worth it. Trust me. Just keep listening to the rest of the video, and you're gonna see why. And because actions come with consequences, and up until recently, when I came back to God, when I came back serious in my walk with God, I've asked, I cried many nights, and I prayed to God, like, forgive me for everything I've done, because it really does weigh on your spirit. And yeah, so I had to ask God for forgiveness, and just in general, like, the whole family, because my my kids, or my husband's kids, like, their whole family, like, I pray that God forgive me, because even though, like, I can't fully put the blame on him, because it was my own free will, and I did it, you know. I was just led by words, and that's the problem that I've always had. Like, I was always led by words instead of actions. So, yeah, so that's what happened. And yeah, he would keep coming back. And but yeah, since I met him at 19 and he was 25, now that I told this story to one of my friends, they told me, they're like, dude, he groomed you. Like, that straight up groomed you, because, which, yeah, I do see it now. That's grooming, because I remember when he knew that I only had a boyfriend. I only had one boyfriend, and he would always tell me like that. Now I think about it, and I'm like, dude, this is like creepy. Like, this is like weird behavior. And again, I forgive my husband, because he is not here in this world anymore, So I forgive him, and I know that it was not him, it was a spirit within him that was operating in him. So I've learned to forgive everything that was done to me. And yeah, so I forgive him. But yeah, so anyways, back to the story. I finally told him, like, hey, you either show me, like, if you want to be with me, you either show me that, like, you're done and you're divorced, or that's it, like, you leave me alone, like, because honestly, it was eating me up alive all these years. And I was like, I can't do this anymore, I can't do it anymore, because era tan fastidioso, like, so, you guys don't even know, like, I'm trying to cut this short, but the way he would get when I would say no, it was very intimidating. And it was just like, yeah, that's how I knew it was a devil, because the devil, he knows when you have a calling. He knows that we all have a purpose in God. So he's gonna try his very best to get us out of our calling, our purpose. So yeah, that's how it was. It was a very stressful type of relationship from the get go. And so lo and behold, he comes to me and he shows me all this paperwork that, well, obviously, like, he shows me like the process. And no, this is not a flex. No, I'm telling you, just because he got a divorce from his wife does not make it a blessed or God ordained marriage. This was the devil using him to still stop me, because that's when I started like really thinking like, dang, he really does love me if he's getting a divorce. No, no, no. That guy was used by the devil on assignment to stop me. I can promise you that. Like, I know it. I know it. So, just fast forwarding, because there's, like I said, there's a lot, but I'm trying to make it as short to not make the video too long. But yeah, so he gets a divorce. And now he is, you know, free, as you can say. And now he's more like, he's like, oh, he's like, yeah, he's like, we're good now. We end up moving out. We moved out together in 20, it was 2020. So, right, or actually, you know what? We moved out right, I think, like the month before COVID hit. And so, yeah, we moved out together. And even though, yeah, like, even though I was with him and, you know, we hung out with the kids and all that, all these years, like, see, this is the thing. That's why you want to do things that honor God, honor yourself, honor, like, things that are blessed by God, because even though everything was fine now, it wasn't fine in my heart. Like, I always felt guilty and I always felt very dirty about it, because I knew that deep down, like, I knew that what we had was not built on us on a solid rock. It was built out of, like I said, adultery, lust, lies. So yeah, you know, things were fine at first, but that's how it is at first. You know, like, things were good. I would say the first 3 years were good. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The first 2 years were good. So we got married 2020, and everything was fine. We moved out from our first place. We went to our second place, and that's where things started taking a turn. So it was the year 2022, and oh, between 2020 and 2022, we raved a lot. We went to a lot of festivals. You know, we did drugs, we drank, we did everything, right? Party. But when it came to, like, when we had his kids, we were like on the dot, right? We were good. But when we didn't have the kids, it was like party time. So, but we were constantly at like festivals and stuff. And so, yeah, we would do all that stuff. And obviously, it's a big sin. Obviously, it is not drugs itself and drinking. You know, it opens portals to spirits, because you're pretty much opening up your spirit is vulnerable and it's open. So it gives access to outside spirits, unclean spirits, to come in. And that's why people turn into someone else, or they act like someone else when they're intoxicated, because it's not them, it's the spirit that entered them. So, yeah, My so yeah, my ex, but my ex, the thing is that he had a very addictive personality, and he, instead of us just part or using and drinking for just like the festivals and like parties we would go to, he started using and drinking every single day, like every single day. And it got to a point where, and mind you, he hadn't been abusive yet. Excuse me. Like physically or anything like that, sexually. He had not been abusive yet. This was just kind of like the door opening up to that. So so yeah, he started using a lot, and the year 2022, we it was when my aunt, which was my mom's sister, which was for me, she was my second mom. I used to call her mom, when because it would just naturally come out. And yeah, and my aunt passed away, or she was actually sick. And the night before I found out that she passed away, my okay, I'm gonna give you a warning on this one. So I was trying to go to sleep, and just to kind of paint the picture, we rented out like 2 units in the back house, because our landlord, had like a huge lot in the back yard. And so we rented one little unit, as that was like our living room, kitchen, and then literally the other one was like a separate one, but you can walk. It's right next to each other. You walk, and that's the bedroom. And and so I was sleeping in the bedroom because I was tired, and I wanted to go to sleep. And he came in so intoxicated, and I can tell it wasn't just drinking, it was drugs, right? And he came in friendly at first, like joking and telling me to go over there so that, we can you know what, do things. And I was like, no, like leave me alone, like I want to go to sleep. And then he started pulling on my legs, and he got aggressive and wanted to force himself on me right there. And and um and I said no, like I was literally fighting. And my husband was not a small guy. He was like 220 pounds. He was bigger than me, taller than me. So, and me, I'm the way I am right now. Like, if anything, I was probably skinnier too, but I can't, like, I got nothing on him. And that was the first time where he, he decked my nose. Like, and this is the reason, I'm going to be honest, like, very vulnerable with you guys. My nose, I don't know if you guys can tell, but, like, I believe it's a little, like, off this way. This is just my glasses. It leaves marks, but it's just a little off. And I eventually do want to fix my nose because it just reminds me of that night. And I just remember him punching me, and I was just like, it, like literally my nose was just like gushing out blood. And I think it was God's hand over my nose, because I literally felt like I thought he had broken it. I thought he had broken it, and you can feel it right here. Like there's like something over here. So I don't know if like it literally feels like if the bone moved or something, because my nose was always straight. And but yeah, so um, then I remember that night. That night he once that happened, I was called a lot of names and called, a lot of like that I was useless and stuff like that. And I was thrown into, a cold shower, and he was just washing me. This was all like at 3 in the morning, washing me in the cold shower and just saying a bunch of dumb things. And this is where I at the time I thought like, what's wrong with him, like, because I had never dealt with that before. Um, so yeah, I was like, what the heck, like, what's going on with him? And one thing I do remember though is that the thing with my husband is that he had honey brown eyes, like very, very nice colored eyes, very nice, like honey, very clear, bright. But every time that he would be intoxicated and get like this, his eyes would turn black. I always noticed that. And so yeah, that was the first time when that happened. I woke up to the news that my aunt passed away, and I started crying, and then my husband switched, like in the morning he switched to like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I promise I won't ever do it again." Like, the whole thing like that. And obviously I was very vulnerable, my aunt had just died, so I was like, it's okay, like I forgave him. I know, so dumb. And so yeah, that was that. And one thing I will say about him though is that whenever his kids were around, he was never like that. And that's one thing I'm grateful for. Um he he As a partner, he wasn't the best, but as a father, I can never deny that from him. He was a great father, and he did everything he could for his kids. But anyways, that was the first night when I um experienced physical abuse from him like that, like where it was bad. It was bad. And I had two other encounters after that. I'm Well, two important encounters after that. I'm only gonna say the two because these are the ones where like I thought I was gonna die. But my whole year, pretty much, that was January 2022. So the whole year 2022 was very abusive, very abusive. Like, um, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I was gonna say something, but I'll save it for another time. So yeah, so my husband, there was one time. I think this one was in May 2022, and again, this is how I knew it was a spirit. It was a demonic spirit in him, because there'd be times where we would be good and just like hanging out watching TV, and then it was like a switch just like flipped, and it was always at nighttime. It was never during the day, because in the daytime it was always nice. Once nighttime hit, it was like something else entered him. And I know people call it narcissism. Yeah, that's the label for it, but me, it's like, no, it was a spirit. It was a demonic spirit working in him. And this other encounter that I'm gonna talk about, I literally thought I was gonna die, because he, like, I was pretty much getting like choked out, right? And all I remember was that he was on top of me, and doing that to me. And I just remember like slowly the lights were just kind of like fading, and he told me. And this is another thing too, that I know that it was a demonic spirit, because when he would talk, it was like a distorted type of talk, like it wasn't his normal voice. And I remember the voice when I was like blacking out slowly. He stopped, and he told me, he said, if I wanted to kill you right now, I could do it. He's like, but I'm not going to do it. And yeah, yeah, so that happened. And yeah, that happened. So that was that. And even though I wasn't with God, like even though I was not on my walk with God, I know God always stayed with me and was always with me, even though I didn't deserve it, because I left God, and I was not in my walk with Him. And I just remember I just remember thanking God that that didn't happen that night. And that night, I look like I actually need prayer. So please, if you guys could pray for my body, because I have a lot of pain all throughout my body. My my I'm not gonna say that one. A lot of things are not aligned in my body, and a lot of it I have to blame for my husband, because I was thrown around a lot like a rag doll. Like, I was pushed into a wall. I messed up my shoulder. I was literally like thrown like a rag doll. Like, this guy could pick me up and throw me like that, like really bad. So yeah, I asked if you guys could pray for my body, because I have been dealing with a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort throughout all these years, and I just, I just, but I know God can heal me. Just like God is healing my heart, God can heal my my body, my physical pain too. But yeah, that happened that night, and I just remember throughout the whole year, because even though I wasn't in church or anything like that, I grew up, that love is not like that. Love is patient and kind. It is not envy. And that's one thing that I felt a lot from my husband was envy. Why? Because I was making more money than him. And when you are not with a guy, with a man that is secure in himself, and especially, I'm going to just say it, a godly man, like a man of God, a true man of God is not going to ever feel like that about you, let alone do everything that what happened to me. And I mean, it's just, we live and we learn, we live and we learn. But I also see it as also judgment for what I did, what I did, the affair and everything. So I also see it as judgment from God. But God, sometimes God, just like a father has to teach their children, discipline, but enough to just, enough to teach you, but not to hurt you, not to kill you. So yeah, that's how I see it now. And so yeah, either even though I wasn't with like in the church or anything, I knew that that was not that's not how marriage is supposed to be. And I prayed to God. I actually did pray to God almost every night that whole year, and I knew that divorce was frowned upon. God does not like divorce. And but I will say, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Mark 10:9 or 9:10. It says, "What God joins together, let no man separate." And I'm gonna tell you right now, God did not join this together. Clearly, right? He did not join it together. So this, I hope this serves as a lesson for whoever's watching. If your relationship is not in the will of God, if it's causing you to go astray from God, if it's causing you to sin, to fornicate, to do everything to compromise your walk with God, it is not of God. It's not of God. Literally, it's not of God. And so me over here, I was thinking, why isn't everything working out? Jeanette, like, come on. Really, come on. Like, that's not. I mean, now I'm older, and I look back at it and I'm like, damn, Jeanette, like, you're dumb. But no, you know what? Like, that's why when I see other people or friends, family going through this same situation, I tell them, dude, that is not of God. Like, if it is of God, well, then separate, and you guys got to work things out on your own. Let God heal that person and also heal you, because clearly there's some things that need to be worked on. And like I said, whatever God joins together, let no man separate. So if it's meant to be, it's going to be. Nothing can separate it. So, yeah, I just wanted to add that, but yeah. So I pray to God every night, and I was scared. Like, I literally was scared because I don't want to disappoint God, and I would tell him, God, I don't want to disappoint you with divorce because I know you don't like it, and I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want you to get mad at me if that's a sin, because I don't. And also, it was embarrassment, because I didn't want to go through divorce. Like, going through divorce alone, is a messy. It's an emotional messy situation, and so yeah, I did that prayer every single night, and I stayed. I stayed because I wanted to I wanted to get a sign, a confirmation that, hey, if I was supposed to stay or leave, right? Because at the end of the day, I was married to him, so I couldn't just. I felt like, in my eyes, I felt like I couldn't just walk away, right? Because I take my vows serious. Like, I take my vows serious, and I'm a very, when it comes to my husband, one thing I will say, and a lot of people are gonna think, "Oh, you're dumb, Jeanette. Like, why aren't you?" I never laid a hand on my husband. I never did, because I loved him that much, where I just I defended myself, like I covered myself, but I never hit him, because I don't know. I couldn't find it in my heart to hit him. And there's one night where um, I'm never gonna forget this night, because this was December 10th, 2022, and I had gone to a concert that night. By this time, I believe it was September, me and my husband we were not sleeping in the same room no more. Like, mentally, myself, I was checked out. Like, I was checked out. And so I was buying tickets to go to a concert, an EDM concert. And he was not being clear with me if he wanted to come or not, because I know he likes to go to that. He liked to go to that too. So I told him, I was like, "Hey, are you gonna want to go or no?" And he was playing. He was being like a smart aleck. So I ended up not buying him a ticket. I met up with friends over there at the concert, and and apparently, like, he was super mad when he called me when I was over there. But then I was also like, okay, well, you didn't give me a straight up answer, so don't be mad. I get home, and my husband was like, again, super, super intoxicated, and it wasn't him, right? It was an unclean spirit. I just knew. I just knew that it was not him again. Like, he switched. He switched. And I remember going to the room. One thing that he always did to have me sleep deprived was he always he always he always what do you call it? Always blasted music out loud. Remember how I said that there was a big backyard? Okay, so since my landlord's yard was huge, they couldn't hear in the front. At least not that I know of, but my husband would blast music out loud in my room when I was trying to go to sleep, because it was just, I know it was just him trying to, he wanted me to be sleep deprived. And then there'd be many times where, I don't think I've ever told anyone this before, but I had gotten really skinny. Okay, so I had mentioned, that I went to raves and festivals with him and we did drugs and all that stuff. And one thing that he used to like to do a lot was the sea, right? Like snow. And I don't know if I could say it on YouTube, that's why. And we used to use that. And this guy, like, would spend so much money and would use my money too. Like, there would be times, I'm telling you, like, there would be times where we would have to, like, we literally did not have money, because he would take my card and take all my money away to buy that stuff, right? And one thing that he had, again, I'm telling you guys, like, I didn't mind doing that drug because I was used to it, but it got to a point where, since that was too expensive, he started buying the meth, right? Meth. And one habit that he had was always, he never liked to do drugs alone. So he would make me do it with him and threaten me that if I didn't do it with him, that there would be consequences, right? So I and the drug meth is very addictive. So I started becoming an addict, and I started losing a lot of weight. And obviously with that drug, you don't really sleep a lot. So when he would come in and play the loud music, it was mainly because just to annoy me. And so just to keep me from sleeping. I literally felt like 2022, I was going crazy because I was very sleep deprived and I was always filled up with meth. And that's just me being honest with you guys, because I don't think I've told that to anyone before. Only one friend of mine knows, but like to anyone else, no. I mean, never. And so that night when I came back from the concert, it was like the same routine all over again. It was like a routine, I swear. It was like a routine. And he came in the room and he started making a mess, throwing things all over across the room. And then again, he tried grabbing me and I would try kicking him, and he would try to force himself on me. And I just remember like crying and telling him to stop. And I remember this one, he grabbed my mouth, and I literally felt like he was gonna break my jaw. And since I was trying to scream, like, it hurt so bad, because since I was trying to scream, then he started like really choking me. And he would tell me like, stop, Pat, like, stop screaming and I'll stop. But obviously at the moment, like, you're running off adrenaline and panic, so you're not listening. You're just kind of like gasping for air. And I just remember I finally like stopped, calmed down, and he told me he started like cussing at me and telling me things. And then he told me, he's like, man, he's like, again, he's like, I should have just killed you. I could just hide your body and no one will find you. And I told him I was again, and also too, one thing with me, I was never, I would never say hurtful things back to him. Like it just, again, it wasn't in my heart to do that to him. And I remember telling him that he needs God and that he needs to stop doing drugs and all that stuff and partying. Not even partying. He was just getting intoxicated. And I remember he told me, okay, so there's a verse in the Bible that says, touch not my anointed. And one thing that I can tell you for a fact is that my mom, remember how I said my mom was she was anointed. She was an anointed woman of God. And my husband that night, he started making fun of her and started cursing her and telling me, well, if you miss your mom that much, I'll just kill you so you can go with her. And he started, like I said, saying a lot of curses towards her. And one thing is that you do not, I'm not saying it just to say it, but you do not mess with a child of God. You really don't. You really don't. And I just remember it hurting me. And I remember at that point, I remembered that verse, and you don't mess with the children of God. And I told them, I said, you need to take that back. Like, you don't know who you're messing with when it comes to God. Like, you do not know who you're messing with. And he was just, and I can tell it wasn't my husband, dude. Like, it was a demonic spirit in him, because the way he would look at me and just grin, it was super evil. Like, it was like an evil grin. And his eyes were like black, like I said. And he told me, I ended up, this is a thing too. You can't rebuke a spirit if you're not filled with the Holy Spirit, because even in, like I said it quietly, with no authority, I was not filled with the Holy Spirit. I was pretty much, like I said, pretty much like spiritually dead. So when I tried doing that, nothing's gonna work. So the spirit just made fun of me. He would make fun of me. And he said he ended up leaving, and that was that. And I just remember crying that night, because I knew that that was just not something to mess with. And mind you, him being the head of the household, everything went down. Like, me and him, we had a business together and it was thriving. And the moment that he started acting and doing his wild things was the moment when everything started to decline. Our business went down. A lot of things went down. A lot of things. Like, I felt like we had lost favor, in the eyes of God. Even though we, like I said, even though we were not following God, like, we literally lost blessings. And so, yeah, that was that. And I'll even tell you guys a story, but I'll do it at another time. One time when the devil tried, like, tempting us with something big, but I'll tell you guys later. But yeah, that was December 10th, 2022. The next day, I was super scared. Oh, I'm sorry, not the next day, the next month. I was super scared because we had another fight. And this time it was the same thing. Grabbed my neck, did the whole thing. But this time was very scary, because the next day I literally lost my voice. And I felt like the Little Mermaid, where I was like this. Like I was talking, I was trying to talk and I couldn't talk. If I find the video, I'll post it on here so you guys can see what I mean. In the video, like I had just started losing my voice, but then right after that, like about an hour or two later, like literally my voice box, it was out. And it was like that for like a day and a half. Who else lost their voice? I can't talk today. And I just remember being scared because that that night, and I know it was the devil too that did that to my voice and took it away, because I remember that night he came in and again, same thing. The spirit was in him, and I literally was walking on eggshells because I was so scared that if he did something to me and I couldn't yell, because he knew that I lost my voice, because when I would try to answer him, he would get mad and I thought I was ignoring him, but I was trying to answer, but I didn't have a voice. And I just remember him grinning at me, like making fun of me, and I got scared because I was thinking, oh my gosh, like what if he does something to me and kills me and I literally can't even yell. So yeah, those that was like the worst almost 48 hours of my life. Like I was scared. And but then again, I was too prideful to let my family know. And pride is a very demonic spirit, guys. Very demonic spirit. Obviously, the devil was prideful, when he got kicked out of heaven. So, yeah, pride pride can it leads to destruction. So, so yeah, I just remember that night I was like super scared. And one thing that I also found knew that it was a spirit in him was that when he would sleep very heavy. If sounded like if it didn't sound like him snoring, it sounded like it was a bear snoring, or like some type of like monster from a movie snoring. It was very weird. Another thing too that he would do a lot to me was he would pretty much hold me hostage in my bedroom, because, and you know what, and I have a video too. I'm never going to show that to like anyone, but, and I probably should delete it, but honestly, I kept this video because I've been told by family, not my family, but his side of the family, I've been told that I'm a liar and that I am making things up. And I keep it as like for myself that like no, it did happen. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll delete it. But yeah, what he would do a lot was he would pretty much hold me hostage in my own room. What he would do is when we would fight, he would move the dresser, and it was a heavy dresser. He would move it to the door, block the door so that I wouldn't be able to move it myself. And he would sleep next to me and do things to me, and I just felt like very, very helpless at the time, and just very alone. And I want to give a shout out to my sister Evelyn, my sister in Christ, my friend, because she's the only friend. Evelyn, I know you're gonna watch this, but you don't even know, Evelyn, that amount of times that like when I would call you, you were the only person that would answer me. And just having your voice talking to me would stop him from doing a lot of things to me. Like literally your voice was like protection over me. And I just want to thank my friend Evelyn. She's a real one. She's always taking care of me, and I love you. And yeah, it was a lot of scary. It was a scary year for me. It was a very scary year for me. And sorry, I just had to like I had to take a little pause because but yeah, later that um so that was December 2022. The next month, January 19th, 2023, on which is his birthday, I made a little get together with me, his family, for his birthday, and we had said I had told him you're not gonna drink, because we were gonna try to. Well, he was trying to work things out, right? And so I was like, well, let me see how he acts. So there was no drinking that day up until we had to go take his kids back. We took his kids back to their mom's house, and someone there wanted to take a birthday shot with him. So the three of us, we all ended up taking 3 shots, right? Liquor shots. And after that, we went straight home. It was fine because then we just stayed home. We literally lived like 5 minutes away from them. So we when we got home, we the alcohol started hitting him, right? And again, mind you, our plan was to just stay home and that's it. I end up I end up going to the room and I start cleaning because I started seeing how his face, I'm telling you guys, like, like this spirit, his face would start to morph. Like it was, it was scary. I'm not gonna lie, it was scary. And, and yeah, so I just remember, like I said, his face morphing, and I just went straight to my room and I locked the door. And one thing that he had that what he would always do. I don't know how he did it. Well, obviously I know how. It was not by his force because he would always break down the door. And that was a constant thing. So he, even though I had like the latch and everything, he always tended to break the door, and he always had to replace the door frame because it would break through. So he broke through, and I just remember being so scared, and he came full blast music trying to annoy me. And I was just I was cleaning the room. I was actually folding laundry at the time. And I remember he came in and he was just starting to tell me, like, he started telling me, um, a bunch of nothings, like just dumb stuff. And I called my cousin and I was going to go to her house because I didn't tell her because she didn't know anything. But I was like, hey, what are you doing? She's like, oh, nothing. And I was like, hey, can I go over? Can I go sleep over? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So then I end up getting my keys before he even does anything, because he was starting to get really aggressive with his tone and everything. And I already knew where it was going to lead up to. And I was like, dude, I'm not going to stay here for that because I'm not trying to deal with that. So I ended up leaving. And from the adrenaline, I honestly did not even feel like I didn't feel those 3 shots because I was just trying to get out of there. And so, like, I felt like I had psyched myself out. So I ended up leaving the house, grab my keys, I go. But because I felt anger inside of me because he had like, it was like a good day and then it just had to ruin it, you know? So I got angry, and I remember I left the house. I had a Camaro at the time, so my car was a Target, And I would always get, not always, but I would get stopped sometimes here and there. This night, I end up, well, when I left, we had gone into a huge argument, right? So I was like fired up. And when I left, I got stopped on the freeway because I was going 80 miles per hour, no, 85 an hour. And I got stopped. And when I got stopped, I guess the car smelled the alcohol and I got arrested for a DUI. And I just remember, and that's the sad thing is like, I just remember I just kept my calm. I took it, you know, I was like, whatever. I just accepted it. And guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. I slept like a baby. And for the first time in a long time, I slept peaceful. And I know it was just God with me. Even though, you know, the situation wasn't pretty, the setting wasn't pretty, I knew God was with me because everyone in their jail cells had a partner with them. They had someone in them. And no, I got pretty much like a a jail cell queen room because it was supposed to be for four. It had four beds and its own toilet, and I was all the way in the corner by myself. No one ever came in, and I literally slept like a baby. And I just remember crying and thanking God, like, God, I can finally sleep. And yeah, that was a very peaceful sleep. And when it came down to morning time, I woke up and and I got out of jail. And again, pride. I should have told my dad, but I didn't tell my dad. I called my husband and I said, "Hey, I'm over here in jail. Can you pick me up?" So he comes, picks me up, and again, it's like the spirit's gone in the morning. Because then now he's all affectionate, like lovey-dovey. I'm telling you, dude, like my relationship with him was, it was all over the place. It was, my nerves were shot after this relationship. Like after that happened, you know, he tried working things out, but again, like I said, I was mentally checked out. So later on, it came down to, I found out that he was on dating apps, and then he was still trying to manipulate me and saying, "Oh, you didn't, like, gaslight me, like you didn't see that, like you're just crazy," and things like that. Until one day, which was the morning of Valentine's Day. What is that? Is that February 13th, 2023? I find out I get paid. No, I had just gotten paid. And I see that in my bank statement, someone stole, I think it was $500. And I was like, what the heck? And then I see, and I asked them, and that was a big old thing. Yeah, it was a big old thing where pretty much like that was my last straw, because I remember I I remember I was just kind of, I was so over it. And I just remember when I was arguing with him, I heard a voice, and this voice sounded like my mom's voice. And I just remember hearing a voice saying, "Ya, ya vete." And I just felt like, I say my mom's voice, even though I know it's not my mom's voice. I know it was God telling me. But keep in mind, mom's voice. I'm gonna, when I go to my next testimony, which in another video, when I talk about how I got saved or I came back to God, keep that in mind. I thought it was my mom's voice, right? Because it sounded just like hers. But I feel like God used my mom's voice because that was the only way I was gonna leave. So I heard that voice saying "vete," like "ya vete," which means like go now. I started packing all my clothes, everything, whatever I could, and I left. I left my husband, and I left my husband, and that was it. That was it. Yes, he did he did try all these things after, like, trying to get me back and trying to work things out, but when I I I I, I didn't go back. I didn't go back. And it was hard. It was very hard because, like I said, I had a very unhealthy relationship with him, and I became extremely, with this guy, I became extremely anxious. Like, how do you say it? Anxious, like, had anxious attachment issues. Very bad. Like, I became so dependent on him because he did everything for me, to the point where I felt like it was hard for me to let go because I felt like I couldn't live without him. And that's one thing he told me when I left, is that he always said, he's like, you're not going to be anything without me. You're going to regret leaving me and all this stuff, right? And so, yeah, that whole year. And you know what's sad is that that whole year, I I was trying to find my own worth, but in the wrong things, partying. I'm not gonna get into that. I'll talk about that on the next on the next video, about how I came back to the Lord. But try to seek happiness in other places, like to fill the void. And even though my husband and we didn't get married in the church, at the end of the day, when you create a soul tie with someone, because you become as one flesh. So I really do believe in, like, I really do believe that we were connected, because I started finding out certain things during the whole time when I wasn't with him. So from February to November, I would literally feel like it's like I had a presentimiento, like I had a feeling that something was going on with him, or something wrong was happening with him. And I ended up getting confirmation because we had like a mutual friend, and this mutual friend would tell me, like, hey, this and this happened to him, a car crash, this, like, pobrecito. Like, I learned to forgive him, and I forgive my husband, because I know that was just the enemy working in him and just bringing him down to his downfall. And we were in the middle of divorce, and at the time I was blinded by a lot of resentment and bitterness towards him, and I regret not sharing the gospel with him, but then again, how could I if I myself wasn't seeking God? Even after God delivered me from that, I wasn't seeking God. And I just remember, towards the end, because we weren't we were about to finish the divorce process, and but it never came to pass, the divorce, because I believe it was Halloween weekend. He texted me, and he told me that we're good by sending me a song. I believe it's a song. I don't remember which one it was. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's called "We're Good" by Usher. It's pretty much like a song. It's not a good song, but it's pretty much like a song saying, like, hey, we're good. Like that. He still loves me, but we're good. And so I just didn't pay any mind to it, because, like I said, in my mind, I was so bitter against him for everything he did to me, that I just didn't even want to listen. Like, I was like, whatever. And then the week of November 5th or 10th, I have a dream of him. November 9th, the day before, right? November 9th, 2023. I was taking a nap before work, and I had a dream that me and him were in bed, and we were just laying down. and we were just staring at each other and like side to side. And I just remember him telling me that we were laughing, and I remember him telling me, hey, I love you, goodbye. And I was like, I woke up so confused. Again, the bitterness, I was just like, ew, like, why did I dream of that? And then 2 days later, November 11th, 2025, I received a phone call, and it was my sister-in-law calling me, and she told me the news that he was found dead. He was found dead, and I just remember I literally crashed out. Like, I hung up the phone from her, and I felt like I was going through like a mental breakdown, because I felt like my whole vision just went off. I couldn't talk. I went running to my stepmom, and I just couldn't get the words out. And I feel bad because I even scared my little baby brother. My baby brother was 1 at the time, I think. Was he 1? I think 1 at the time. And he started crying because I scared him. And I just remembered about that dream. And I was just, I was just very sad, depressed at the time. And yeah, that's what happened. And his death happened. Remember how I said about don't talk about children of God, or don't touch not my anointed. And people are probably gonna get mad that I say this, but I really do mean it. And like, he died exactly 11 months after what he said about my mom. And that's why it's very important that we watch our words and don't speak death, speak life to people. And yeah, so that's just me, my testimony about that was just me trying to shorten it out. I know it's going to be long, but that's just me trying to shorten it out as much as I can. And again, please, women, please know your worth. Remember your worth. You're a child of the Almighty God, the Creator, the King of this universe, of this whole existence. Please, please, do not keep your eyes away from the Lord. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He's the only one that can keep us safe. He's the only one that will lead us to the truth and life. And no man, no poom poom is worth risking your life. None of it. It says in the Bible, that we should not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. And by me doing this, look, I almost got killed twice. 3 times, actually, to be exact. And was it worth it? It's not worth it, no. But at the end of the day, I know God used it. God is using it for good. And I'm sharing this testimony to help out others who are going through this, and others that are so stuck on a relationship that God did not ordain for them. I can't stress it enough. Like, people think, recently I have someone that indirectly called me a self-righteous person, right? Dude, I'm telling you, I'm not. I'm the last person to think that I'm so high above others. Like, my testimony clearly speaks for itself. I was filthy. I was a filthy sinner. So filthy, dude, and with a bunch of shame. And God washed me. He washed me from that shame, and that's why I stand by His word like 10 toes down now. I don't want to disobey God. I've gone through so much stuff, so much hurt, so much betrayal, pain. It's not worth it. It really is not worth it. It's so important that you marry the correct person, the person that God has for you. You cannot just mess around and just marry out of love. Like, does this man know how to lead you? Does he know how to pray over you? Is he going to be able to love you like Christ loves the church? Lay his life down for you and your family. Like, but yeah, that is that part of the testimony. And like I said, I pray that it helps you, edifies you, and that it was some kind of lesson, a teaching for you, that if you're going through this, I pray that God guides you, that he leads you, that he protects you. Anyone, if you still have your purity with you, like your virginity, please keep it for the right person. It's sacred. It's so sacred. And yeah, like I said, I pray that this helps you, and whoever relates to it, please, if you relate to it, if you have any questions or if you need prayer, comment down below, like the video, share it to someone who you feel that needs to listen to it, and yeah, so God bless you guys. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry it was so long. It was just, I was trying to cut it down short, but God bless you. My next testimony will be about how I came to God. Or how I came back to God, because I'm a prodigal son or prodigal daughter. And thank you guys for watching. God bless you guys.